Welcome. The war in Ukraine continues. Day after day, we're hearing of new areas where the Russian military is attacking. Yet the amazing Ukrainian people are surprising not only the Russians, but the world. Their love for their country and the prayers of people all over the world are making a difference. Yet at the same time, millions have fled their homes and their homeland. Others are staying. Those escaping the war-torn areas have had challenges just to get to the western part of Ukraine and to the borders of Moldova, Romania, and Poland. The women and children press on. The men are turned back, and they turn back to do what they can to preserve their country and to save lives. In scenes that I think are reminiscent of the little ships of Dunkirk in World War II, those hundreds of fishing boats that rescued people from northern France, Ukrainians are using their cars and borrowed or rented or purchased buses or vans, and they're making the trek to Kyiv and other key areas, taking food and relief supplies and bringing out families. And if you want to know what that looks like, here's what it looks like.
So this is our fifth evacuation trip. These are 7 cars of our team, plus somewhere behind there's a bus that takes 10 people also. Mostly these people are from Irpin. These are cities. That's the city close to Kyiv, next to Kyiv, which was bombed for almost 14 days. So most of these people, they stayed in the basements of their houses. So this time we took 46 people. So we take them for the shelter place in western Ukraine, 60 kilometers around, far from Lviv. So these are our drivers who take them. Most of these people, they did not took shower for 14 days. So we take them to the place where they can where they can have shower. So thank God. That's pretty much what's going on these days with our team. Have a good day. Bless you. Bye-bye.
The man narrating that video is our special guest today, Andriy Kuksenko. He's a pastor, a translator for us when we've done conferences there. Most of all, he is a friend and a great follower of Christ. He's been posting videos from the very first days of the war, and we've seen this tragedy unfold through his eyes and his pastor's heart. As hard as this experience is, and I can't even imagine, listen to what he wrote on Facebook just yesterday. He said, "Now, this is the best time ever. This is the best time to pray. This is the best time of serving and working. This is the greatest time to sacrifice and love. This is the right time to change and do what is right." Andriy, thank you for joining us, and thank you for your spirit that really touches my heart. I appreciate that so much.
Hello, Ron. Hello, all the visitors and all the viewers. Nice to see you. Welcome to Ukraine.
Yeah, thank you. I know you've been shuttling back and forth from Kyiv to other parts to the western part, helping to get these people out, as you showed us a moment ago. Take us back to those opening moments when this thing became real. I've seen some of the videos that you produced probably from your basement. Tell us a little bit about what you experienced when you began to hear those explosions.
Telling the truth, I did not hear so much explosions because in the beginning there was only alarms, the air alarms. So it shouted. But honestly, it started for me. It started 4:15 in the morning because the war started 4:35 or 4:37, something like that. 15 minutes before that, God had woken me up and I started to pray. And after I prayed like for 10-15 minutes, I don't exactly remember how, but I got to, my browser and I checked the news, what's going on. And I watched the video of Vladimir Putin saying that he's starting this special military operation or something like that. And I realized, because I'm military in my past, I realized I understood that there's a war. the war had started, and that was pretty much. I called. We at that moment we were not in Kiev. By God's grace, we were able. Actually, we went for 5 days vacation to Lviv. That's the Western Ukraine. They call it Western capital of Ukraine, and we stayed there. So I called my wife. I woke up my wife and I said, "Okay, here's what's going on, and that's what we're going to do." And then I called to our pastors in the church who stayed in Kiev. So and we made a. We started to talk. What you would do, in these circumstances. And yeah, that's pretty much how it started.
How difficult was it? I know a lot of people have struggled. They said, I want to stay here. But as this thing built more, how hard was it to make a decision to move out of Kyiv?
I don't really know because, like I said, I'm military in my past. And for me, it's, my life is split like in between of 3 dimensions. One dimension is spiritual, where, we live by faith. The other dimension is, emotional, when you put your emotions, when, the situation, you allow situations to go through your emotional part. And the third one is, very rational and very military, where you just need to make decisions. So it's not about having emotions. Just you turn on, it seems like you turn on something and you say, okay, that's what needs to be done. I've been taught to do that when I was in the military, so it remains in me. I wouldn't say it was hard for my wife, because even until now, sometimes she's crying. I see tears in her eyes because she does not. It's really hard for her to cope with all this situation. But for me, I wouldn't say it was really hard, but it's really hard to understand that my mom and my dad. They stay in Kiev because they're 73 years old, and it's hard for them to move. So they made decision to stay there. So waking up every morning and calling them or writing, texting them, asking them, how are you doing? Is everything fine with you? That's that's the hardest part for me.
Yeah, I can understand that. So you made a decision, though, I guess after a few days, to begin to help get people out of those conflict areas. Tell me about that process. What are you doing? We saw the video clip earlier, but tell me, how do you go about doing that?
I'll try to give it in the way of report. So what we did, staying at Lviv, we found a place in the city of around 60 kilometers away from Lviv. We found the spot. Thank God we had satellite church from our church. We had, daughter church here, and we prepared the place in 2 days. We prepared the place that could accept, could host refugees. And after that, we had only 2 cars. So we took 2 cars and we moved toward Kiev because we called to some of our church members and their relatives. We said that here's the place, so you can be evacuated or you can escape from Kiev or other places. You can come here. We have a place where to sleep. We have food. We have everything we have prepared. So when we fully prepared that place, we moved to Kiev. And it's interesting thing, on our first trip, on our way from Lviv to Kiev, one of our cars, we had car accident and it was totally damaged, absolutely. The front part of the car was just, it doesn't exist anymore. So we put around, I would say around maybe 40 gallons of gasoline in the trunk of the sedan car. And 4 big men, we squeezed ourselves. So we went to Kiev and we started to talk to some people in Kiev who had cars. We said, okay, we can help you if you give us your car. So we can help you to bring that car to western border of Ukraine, but we need to take people. So and that's how we started. Then, we found 2 cars, and that's how we did our first trip. So we brought people here, stayed overnight, housed them here, and then we moved back. That's pretty much how it's going on. In the beginning, Ron, you asked me, where are you located now? I would say that I'm located somewhere in the midst of central and western Ukraine. I don't know exactly where.
It may not even be wise to exactly pinpoint where you are. I don't know about that, but we would rather keep you around long enough. Tell me about the churches, because you're saying we had things ready. I've seen a lot of indications of churches in the western part and those in Romania and in Poland who are really stepping up to help. Give us an indication of what you're seeing.
It's it's. I would say every time in the history when we see war or conflicts or hard times, I always say that our faith or our Christianity is always checked. So what I see that it was checked and it was found well. I would say well because churches from Poland, Romania, Hungary, Czech Republic, different European countries, they are so open for refugees. They host, I think for now, they host around 2.7 million Ukrainian, men, women, elderly people, and children. They host them now. Wow, it's phenomenal. Phenomenal. They provide everything. They open everything. They open their church buildings, they open their apartments, houses, so they host lots of people. Around, I would say 30% of our church, they're right now somewhere in Europe. Today I talked to one sister, she's in Spain, the other one is in Finland, the third one is in Poland, but we try to be connected with each other, but thank God for those churches.
What do you see happening next? I mean, I don't know if we know what President Putin plans are. Nobody can quite figure out what's going to happen next. What do you sense might take place? And I'm talking probably less about the political side of it, more about the people. Do you think people will all be, if the war were to end soon, do you think they will be coming back home? Or do you think this is a dispersion of Ukrainians in various places around the world?
I would try to say first in the spiritual realm, like I said, in the very beginning, I got this word in Gospel of John, chapter 14, verse 8, if I'm correct, where it says that the father of every lie is Satan. So actually listening of what they say about Ukraine, about political situation in Ukraine, about everything, about the government, I could say that that's lie. And I know that there's a Satan who stands behind that lie. And in the spiritual realm, I know that they already lost this war. They already lost their position. And I dearly believe that Russia would be able to, sustain as a country, as a nation, because the measure or the size of lie they tell to their people and to the rest of the world, it's abnormal. It's way abnormal. It's like, you see the white something and you say it's black, and you press everyone to believe that it's black, which is not correct. Absolutely. So from others, the other side, of course, like you said, no one knows what is in the head of Putin, because, something strange is with this person. There's something really strange influence in his life, and I don't know what he will dare to do. But on the third side, what I see that, Russians say that it's a special military operation. Some people, they say it's a war, but I would say, it's a people's war. Right now, what we see here, I think that the greatest mistake of Russia, they thought that they are going to fight with Ukrainian militaries, but they don't understand. They fight with the Ukrainian people. They fight with the nation right now, because I wouldn't say that we do something significant, because I travel right now around Ukraine, back and forth to Kiev and what I see every single person, they try to do something. You can see little children, they try to bring something on blog posts. Someone is cooking food. Other people, they build something. They build this anti-tank, something. Or everyone, they do something. Even here in Western Ukraine, where it's more peaceful, the atmosphere right now is peaceful. They collect, they host refugees. The whole nation is fighting. And that's what I think that's the biggest mistake that Putin made. He thought that was his idea, that he's going to overcome Ukrainian army. If there would be no Ukrainian nation, they would most probably they would overcome our army, but they fight with a nation. And that's what they did not expect. And that is why we have 20th day of war, and Ukraine will overcome. That's what I could say. Ukraine will overcome, because the truth is on our side. And that's the real truth. And it's on our, and I know that God will help us to do that.
People like you, the Ukrainian people in general, your president, have inspired the whole world. I saw yesterday one of the big car dealers on a highway has taken down his Texas flag and has raised a Ukrainian flag alongside the U.S. flag. People's hearts are with you. And so I hope that Ukrainians feel encouraged by that. I know there's some military steps that we can't figure out which way to go, but the hearts of, I think, the world are with Ukraine and with the Ukrainian people. How can we best pray for you?
First of all, of course, one prayer that's really needed, that God will give wisdom to our government, how not to, they will not give up. They will not give up, but how to make right and proper negotiations. They need God's wisdom. I've heard someone said that, oh, but this president, our Ukrainian president, he's not a believer. First of all, we don't know exactly. That's his personal life. But the other thing that, we see many stories, we see many examples in the Bible where God once he used a donkey, in order to do right things. So God can use anyone. So to pray for the wisdom of God for our government and our president and negotiators. That's number one. Number two, of course, for God's mercy. We see many examples in the Bible. For example, we have the example where with Queen Esther, when God has raised his mercy and he said, let her talk. And after she talked, he hanged Ammon on the tree that the Ammon himself prepared for Mordecai. And we saw, God's mercy in that. So we pray for God's mercy, and you can pray for God's mercy. And of course, for truth to be known, because once again, like I said already before, the size of lie that Russian Federation tries to say, before I know that many people, they believed. But now I think we came to the point when everyone see that, like the king is naked. Everyone see that they lie. So the truth to be known, when the whole world will understand that the truth is opposite from what the Russian Federation says, they will understand, how to help Ukraine. But these are three major things we need to be prayed, and of course for God's protection over Ukrainian women, children, elderly people, Ukrainian cities, because what they do right now, they just destroy infrastructure. I mean, civilian infrastructure. I mean, it's insanity, in the 21st century, seen as they don't bomb military, troops. They just bomb and they send missiles they launch missiles on cities, just on civilians. Right. That's strange and that's horrible.
Certainly, we will be praying for you, and I want to thank you for taking time. I know you're, as you said, between here and there, going and doing a good work, and I just want to tell you how much I appreciate not only the time, as you know, I appreciate your friendship. It means the world to me, and we've developed a great friendship over the years as you've translated for us, but that's the lowest level as we've become one in heart and spirit. And so, Andriy, we will be praying for you, for your family, and for your parents who are in Kyiv, and so many of our friends that we know. I've said many times now, when I would read in the Bible, you hear of wars and rumors of wars, I thought initially of countries. Not anymore. I think of people, and people like you who are having to endure this. So our prayers are with you, and again, thank you for taking time to be with us.
Thank you, Brother Ron. Thank you so much. We love you too.
Yeah. Many like you, if you're like me, I'm praying Bible verses for our Ukrainian friends. Like this from Psalm 34. Listen to this. I prayed to the Lord, and he answered me. He freed me from all my fears. In my desperation, I prayed, and the Lord listened. He saved me from all my troubles. For the angel of the Lord is a guard. He surrounds and defends all who fear him. Oh, may our Lord hear our prayers, protect Ukraine, and may his will be done in a powerful way. I'm Ron Harris. Thanks for joining us for this Ukraine update.